welcome to another episode of Uncommon Edge.
How important that is to be able to laugh at yourself.
It's okay to be laughed at. When you start recognizing those things, that's where hypnosis is effective. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So I always try to tell people, work on what's the subconscious motivation that client or that prospect has that's holding them back from making a decision.
Oh my God, Joe gets me. But the mastery piece is that when you can get ahead of the objection and eliminate it.
Once you recognize what it is the consumer wants, it's an easier sale.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Uncommon Edge, and I have our dear guest, Mr. Joe Hammer.
Dear guest?
Was that good?
Dear, I've been called dear since like high school by my mom. That's good, I love it.
Well, I figured, hey, I mean, you know, you are a professional, so I had to introduce you a little more, you know, with a little pizzazz, I guess.
It's all good, Dave. It's all good. I'm not going to lose any sleep, no matter how you would introduce me.
All right, so here's what's really crazy. I actually met Joe, oh my God, 2010, 11, 12-ish, somewhere in there.
About that, yeah.
At this one yoga studio.
Yoga studio.
Yeah, hot yoga.
Hot.
Now, don't be laughing, okay? So two dudes doing hot yoga. I mean, I'm sure there's a few jokes that we could probably, you know, put on that.
As long as we don't reference ourselves as
correct.
hot, we'll be okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
But, this guy would do hot yoga and then get on your motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's freezing outside. Like, this guy's hardcore. So,
But Dave, I got to tell you, there's nothing more exciting than someone seeing somebody in yoga shorts and flip-flops on a Harley on a rain tree.
I'm like, where's this guy go? How far of his drive? Like, what's going on?
I live close, but still, you know. But it was cool. It cools you off quickly. But it's just weird getting on a bike with yoga clothes and flip-flops.
Yeah, you're a little wet.
And people think you're weird to start with by going to hot yoga. And now you're adding to that by getting on a Harley when you're done. It's not good. I don't do that anymore, Dave.
You don't?
No,
okay.
I don't do that anymore.
You've matured now.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm not riding a Harley after yoga anymore. So.
Well, I want to break it down. So the way that Joe and I got connected is he came out or first time we came out to you. We came out to your studio.
That's right, yeah.
And we did an improv class with our team. And so, again, super important to be able to communicate and have fun and make your clients laugh and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But tell us how did all this start, and just let's break it down and go down the rabbit hole.
Well, I've always been a trainer for small business and some corporate work on marketing and sales, and I've always had a background in entertainment. I've been a stage comedy magician. I've done comedy hypnosis, and I got into improv. So all those things all have application in business. You don't think hypnosis has anything to do with business or comedy has anything to do with business. But the more relaxed you are in front of your prospect or client, the better off you're going to do. So I thought, why can't I take some of the concepts of these and plug them into the corporate training environment? And I did with all of them. And that's where my books came about. The Unconscious Authority is about how our past situations in life has caused us challenges in our everyday life.
Yep.
Right? It's like all these past experiences are unconsciously running in the background. That's the Unconscious Authority. And then my improv book was pretty much just teaching improv for everyday life, because there's a lot of principles of improv that we can utilize in our lives. And then Blank to Brilliant came about for corporate America, for people like yourself who want to train teams to be more effective in their sales presentations, more effective in closing sales, but not by being funny. Everybody thinks, I'm going to hire you to come in and teach my people to be funny. It's not that. Humor is part of the learning process, and we all have fun. Right. Your last group, we had a great time. I always love coming to your place because we always have a great time. But the thing is, behind the scenes is the concepts of improv and how they apply to sales.
Where did this idea come up, like making that transition into the business side of it? Like, where were you at in life that you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and go that direction? Like, how did that come about?
The big aha for me, I opened for a stage hypnotist in Pittsburgh. And I was doing my magic comedy show at that time. And I always thought stage hypnosis was fake. You know, they have people come up and think they're bodybuilders or think they're surfers or whatever.
you're a cat or something.
Yeah, whatever. And I thought, this is BS. Like, this can't be real. So anyway, I opened the show, and this hypnotist went up, and he did his thing, and all the people were doing, you know, funny things. And after the show, I said, for what they pay us, how do you have all these people? And he goes, well, they're volunteers. And I'm thinking to myself, why would they want to volunteer their Friday night to get up and do silly things, right? Like, that's weird. So Saturday, the next night, same thing, and different people. And some of the people I knew from the club. And I didn't know them personally, but I knew their faces. So I knew they weren't like traveling with him or part of his show.
Right, like a paid
like,
gig or something.
like that's stooge, they call it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, stooges. So I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. So one of the guys in the show, he asked during the show, is there any changes you want to make in your life? One guy said, I don't want to quit smoking. So at the end of the show, he put this hand on this guy's shoulder, and he said, you, my friend, are a non-smoker. He said, when you see cigarettes, they're not yours. You realize that, and he just talked down cigarettes, like horribly, right? Brought everybody back up, sent them all to their seats. Everybody was done, applause. Everybody's getting ready to go home or whatever. The guy went back to the bar, and I thought, I'm going to go up and talk to him. I'm not going to go up and say, were you hypnotized? Because, like, how does a person even know? I don't know. I didn't understand it. So I walked up, and he said, hey, I enjoyed your show. I said, well, thanks. And I said, and I don't smoke, but I said, can I borrow a cigarette? Because he had cigarettes in front of him. He said, oh, those aren't mine. And he flipped them off the bar into behind the bar. And I was like, oh my God, I've watched that guy smoke. And now suddenly he's a non-smoker because some guy on stage told him that? This can't be true.
Come on.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God. So I chatted with him for a little bit. So I went back to the hypnotist and I said, this is real, isn't it? He goes, oh yeah. He said, he's done. He won't smoke ever again. So at that time, he said, give me your card. I'll send you some CDs. He did like stress reduction and all kind of things. And I was blown away. So I started to research it, and I decided, you know what, I could do this. So I flew to Vegas and studied under a stage hypnotist, and I started doing stage hypnosis.
No kidding.
So once I started doing this and seeing the power in it, I thought, you know, if I could tell somebody they skip the number 7 when they count, and they count 11 fingers on their hand, and their friends are in the front row just roaring in laughter, but they're okay with 11 fingers. Why can't I tell that person this challenge in your life is no longer there, right? Just eliminate that problem. So that became the springboard for taking these alternative processes, whether they're improv or comedy or hypnosis, and plugging them into the corporate training. And that's where that started. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
So like the person behind the camera right now, you could do a little hypnosis.
She's already hypnotized. I did when I came in.
You did?
Yeah, you'll see when I leave what she does.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you'll see what she does.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, my God. Okay, so that was like one of those aha moments. And so again, you became a student again. What did that feel like? Because again, like, you know, typically when people come into our organization, you know, they're older or they're just getting started, but a majority of them have gone through 2 or 3 different career changes, and then it's like, okay, a new thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like with your journey, you were already kind of going down the road, and then all of a sudden took a step back and started working on yourself. Like, what?
I think I just realized that there's more to training than people sitting in a room being preached at with a PowerPoint and expecting that person to take that information and go plug it in. If you can attach something that goes to the core level, like humor or a process of understanding our past and how it affects our everyday lives,
right.
I think that's what really shifted for me. And I think once you start understanding the dynamics of how our past interacts with our current situation, then it becomes easier to understand. And then when you apply a little humor, a little fun to that, it's all good. Yeah.
Do you, this is just a crazy left out of the blue question.
Most of them have been, pretty much.
Do you do you like make yourself laugh? Do you just have days where you're just like, what the hell am I doing? And just like,
oh yeah, yeah,
and just
my dog, she's like my audience. So if I have an idea, and she can care less. She doesn't even want to associate with me unless it's time for a walk or food. But anyway, yeah, there's times things just show up. Right?
How important, and people don't realize like how important that is to be able to laugh at yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think we take ourselves so seriously that,
yeah.
you know, that we can't laugh at ourselves. So then how does that look when you're dealing with someone else? I mean,
Right. It's our historic programming. You know, we're laughed at in school. If we say a wrong answer, our friends laugh at us and all that. And we've just come accustomed to being sensitive to that stuff. And some are hypersensitive to that. We've had situations where people are just really sensitive to certain aspects of training. And after it's done, they step back and they say, wait, this wasn't so bad after all, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to be laughed at and use humor in
100%. Now, have you ever had anyone like in some of your training courses where, I mean, obviously you're good at what you do, but have you ever had those people where it's like you're just trying to crack this barrier and they're just so closed off that they're not open?
Yeah, but normally they open up during the training because they see that what they're holding on to has no value. It's some old programming, it's some old feelings from that, Mr. Johnson in 6th grade,
right?
Putting them in the corner for something they didn't do, or
the dunce cap, yeah.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But they start realizing, or it could be parenting situations. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff from our parents that said something that was meant to come across as a positive thing, but we internalize it as a negative, and we're holding on to it to this day. And when you start recognizing those things, that's where hypnosis is effective, is to getting back to the core issues of those things and correcting them at the core level so that they don't affect you in your adult life.
So with the hypnosis piece, let's relate that into the business world. How are you, brought on to help businesses in that sense?
Yeah, I really don't use much hypnosis
Okay.
as far as that's concerned, but I think it's up to an individual. If they find they're having some challenges in some aspect of their life, they tend to think of a life coach. They tend to think of a psychiatrist or psychologist or a counselor, and there's nothing the matter with those, but they're all dealing with the conscious mind. And the conscious mind will lie like crazy. You ask a smoker, why do I smoke? I smoke to relax. Well, you can't take a stimulant and relax. But they've heard it from other people. It feels like you are, and you kind of just buy into that. And the conscious mind is okay with it. The subconscious, however, is a whole different animal. So that's the key. Yeah, that consciousness. Yeah.
Let's talk about the subconscious side.
Yeah. You go to a movie, and you're in a movie. Your feet are stuck to the floor because someone spilled a Coke, the person in front of you.
Right.
And you're watching a movie, and us guys, we don't cry. But here comes a scene, and you're like, oh, my God. And you're like doing like this. You're like, oh, I get allergies, whatever. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. Therefore, you're going to have a reaction to that. And it's the same in life. You're going to have a reaction based on that subconscious programming. And consciously, you could say do anything you want, but you can't bypass it. So subconscious is ruling the world. That's ruling. I always say I call it in my book, the mindberg. The top of the iceberg is the conscious mind, and everything beneath that is all the subconscious programming we've had in our lives. And to take and say, I'm going to just work on my consciousness and fix all this stuff, it's not going to work.
You got to go down to the roots.
You got to get down.
You got to get down to the roots.
You got to get
chop
down.
them off.
Right. Got to get down there.
What do you find in this? Okay, so again, this is fascinating to me because I've heard of these things that you've been talking about, but never been a student of it. But when you're dealing with salespeople, what are some things that you see that are some of these negative traits, and then the things that you see them figure out and then get on the other side?
Well, everybody's different. And I open my program, as you know, with how would you feel if you were standing in front of a group of people you didn't know and talk about something you knew absolutely nothing about, and you had somebody with you doing the same thing. They don't know you, you don't know them, you don't know the subject, you don't know the audience, you know nothing. And normally that puts a lot of fear into somebody because that's just a common reaction when you're put in that environment. We automatically go back to a grade school situation where we had that book report or whatever it may be, and it just didn't sail.
Yep.
And it didn't work. And whether there was laughter or whether there was reprimanding by the teacher or whatever, it just fell flat on its face. So when people hear that, they're like, oh my God, they automatically go into a shudder, mode that I don't know what I'm going to do. I wouldn't know what to do in that situation. Then we do the program, as you know, and after we're done with the training, I ask, how do you feel about that now? And most people are like, oh, that's because that's what you just did in this training. So that's where improv comes in. It's a matter of thinking a little quicker, being more listening as opposed to instead of listening to respond, listen to understand. And once they get the concepts of that, people tend to loosen up, and it tends to be a different approach the next time they're in front of a group.
Because I always see, and again, people that have never been in sales, they get into sales, or they've been in sales and they, transition into real estate. It's like, I always find it's interesting when they're like, well, I don't know what to say. And if I say something, I wanted to make sure it's right. It's like, okay. Now, by no means, this is something that I had to learn over the years and probably self-taught myself and learned from trial and error, to a point to where the mastery of communication, when you can literally run into someone in the grocery store or whatever and have like a meaningful conversation, that's when I feel like, okay, you've somewhat arrived at the mastery of communication at that point.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's like how to break through that piece.
Yeah. Well, you've seen that the judgment is once you're able to do that, you recognize that the judgment that you think this other person is going to have really isn't existing. It's that old programming that your buddies laughing at you in class or whatever it may be.
Right.
You talk to somebody in the grocery store, they're not going to respond to you that way, but you have to do it a few times. You have to put that out there a few times to get comfortable so that you're not locked up. And a lot of people get locked up. They're thinking word tracks, like we're told to say these things.
Right.
And there's nothing the matter with that. Would you like a Danish with that coffee? I mean, that's McDonald's makes millions of dollars off that. But that word track, if it gets too structured, it comes off as fake. It comes off as artificial, and people pick up on that. A prospect will pick up on that in a heartbeat. So you got to be conversational in your approach.
Well, it's kind of like whenever you ask someone, "Hey, how's your day going?" "Oh, it's good."
Right.
No, seriously. Yeah. Well, I just ran over the dog. I killed him. And you're like, well, then it's an autoresponder.
Yeah.
And I think people are on this like autoresponder kick. It's like, oh, hit play, hit play. And then when someone says, well, what do you mean by that? It catches them off guard. It slaps them out of their...
It's a comfort level. It's a comfort level for them. It's an easy response. It's comfortable. It's easy to respond. And I'm not going to get any pushback from it, right? But yeah, you're better off just to be upfront. Yeah.
All right. What are some, let's say, like TikTok, 3 easy hacks to be funny? I'm not going down that road.
Right.
But someone that's listening and they're kind of like, man, but how do you do this? Like, what are some things that just the average Joe out there that knows they have an issue with communication and being able to talk to strangers or feel comfortable in front of an audience? Like, what are those baby steps that someone can do to start to...
I always refer back to Whose Line Is It Anyway? Because a lot of times people think, when they think of improv, they think of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Ryan Stiles and Mockery and those guys. And the thing about it is, if you look behind the scenes of the comedy, there's an environment of agreement. It's a matter of agreeing. So if one scene partner looks to the other and says, "Hi, teacher," the other one isn't going to say, "I'm not your teacher." Because when they do that, you've killed the scene. You've basically killed that where it was going. Because as that approach, I have an idea in my head where I want to go with this. And when I say, "Hey, teacher," I have an idea where I want to go with this scene. But when you say, "I'm not your teacher," now we got to start over. The brain kind of gets a little funk, and you're like, "Oh, now what?" Like, what do I do? So the goal here is when you watch Whose Line, I always tell people, look behind the comedy and see what's there. And most of the time, it's being present in the moment, everybody being present on exactly what's being said at that time, and an attitude of agreement. So when your partner says, "Hey, teacher," you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And you move that scene forward and being focused on the moment. And most people are thinking ahead. And when you're thinking ahead, often you don't even hear what your scene partner says, or your prospect or client, whoever it may be. You're listening like, "I got to be sure I get these points in. I got to be sure they're going to say this, because here's what I'm supposed to say next." And they may have said a question, or they may have given you a sign that they don't understand or something, and you totally miss it. You totally miss it because you're not present. So big thing, present in the moment, and always start with a yes. Agree with whatever they're saying. If you could, and people get scared with that. Like in your business, you got $1 million home on the market. Somebody makes an offer of $850. What do you say? "No, you're crazy. They're not going to take that." Now, how do you make them feel, right?
Right.
So start with a yes in some way. Yes, we've had some other offers in that ballpark. However, and then go into whatever. Because when a person hears no, it's been said that we've heard no between, I think it's like 50,000 and 100,000 times in our lives by the time we've reached the age of 18. So hearing no that
kidding.
often, right? Yeah.
Hold on, say that one more time.
Yeah. We've heard no in our lives between 50 and 100,000 times by the time we're 18 years of age. Dad, can I have a cookie? No. Dad, can I use the car? No. Whatever.
Wow.
So because of that, anything that comes after that is kind of negated. So if somebody says something to you and you say no, and then you're going to try to explain that no goes at a deeper level. Unconsciously. They're not like, okay, I'm just surface leveling. Hear that. It goes to an unconscious level, and they're kind of at a defense. It's almost like you say, you're a good-looking guy, but, right? It's like whatever I said in front of that but doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's negated. So it's the same with a no. So I always tell people, you got to get a habit of saying yes when you're doing sales presentations, when you're talking to your clients. You got to have as much agreement in there as possible, because now you've taken away their defenses. Their subconscious defenses of no's or buts.
Because you snap back to your childhood of just the teacher no, the mom and dad no, the babysitter no.
That's it.
Like,
and it's not a conscious thing. It's not like, oh, I know better. It's an unconscious reaction we have.
And then you're dragging that into your mid-30s going, everyone's told me no.
There you go.
I'm never going to amount to anything.
Yep, it is what it is.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right? It's pretty simple when you dig down into the reality.
Well, yeah, when you pull the layers of the onion back and you start looking at it, you're like, oh, no big deal.
Yeah.
But then you walk out the door and then someone tells you no, you go right back.
That's it.
But to have the awareness is probably, is that the hardest part here, is to get someone to have the awareness factor?
Yeah, and sometimes they really don't get it, but you can fake your way through it by just agreeing and getting there, because otherwise you're getting deep into psychology of your mind and everything, and who wants to go there? Yeah. But the thing is, if you could just get in that habit of, not self-censoring. Improv is known to shut off the part of the brain that is involved with self-censoring. Okay. And I think once you get in the habit of practicing a little, and I always tell people, come to an improv class. Like, we do improv classes all the time. We do them on Zoom. I don't care where you are. You can come anytime. But the thing is, get in the habit of just being present in the moment. And improv will turn off that piece of our brain that is the self-censoring aspect that causes us not to want to say something, right? And that's the thing, too. You're in a meeting, and you're asking for suggestions, and somebody raises their hand, and they have a suggestion. And you say, no, we tried that. That didn't work. How do you think that person's going to feel when you ask the next time? Any suggestions? They're not going to. They're going to say, you know what? I've offered Dave my suggestion. Not that you do this, but I'm just saying that,
I've been known to do that.
Well, yeah, you've done it to me a couple of times. So, but no, it's just a matter of understanding that. Just eliminate that aspect.
Right.
Eliminate that. Yeah.
Ooh, this is good. We could peel back some more layers here.
Oh, there's a lot of them. I always say too, there's a situation when you're, especially in sales, we already preconceived where we are in this environment. I'm a home buyer and you're selling. I've already got my objections. I already got my challenges in my brain that I'm going to approach you with. But the goal for you is to answer those unspoken questions before they're asked. Because if you're able to know where I'm at and you're able to address them initially, you've taken a big burden off of me. Because now I'm thinking, God, he really understands, right? Whether it's an interest rate issue or whatever it may be, he really understands. So I always try to tell people, work on what's the subconscious motivation that client or that prospect has that's holding them back from making a decision. And if you can answer those questions before they're asked, now you're not in a defensive mode. You're in offensive mode. And they're going to be more apt to say, oh, yeah, this guy knows where I'm coming from.
Well, you're eliminating the objections at that point.
Which
there's nothing wrong with handling an objection. But the mastery piece is that when you can get ahead of the objection and eliminate it, now all of a sudden this person's going, oh, my God, Joe gets me.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow, I've never ran into someone like that.
Yeah.
Just because you're asking questions and, defunking whatever preconceived notions that they have and looking at a different way.
That's it.
Do you find, okay, you said something, just be present and so on and so forth. Are you finding right now, just in your everyday life and just being around business, are you seeing where people really don't know how to be present?
Yeah. And I think, too, it has a lot to do with our hectic lifestyle in general. Back in the day, you got to relax a little bit. And I saw an old Andy Griffith show where they're all in the barber shop just like BSing about whatever's going on in Mayberry or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's kind of interesting. And the phone rang and you didn't know who it was.
No.
And you didn't have the phone on your belt or in your pocket. It was at home and you made the calls when you got back or at the office. And we got into all of that. And we're so hypersensitive to everything in the moment that there's just no room. We only have so many hooks in our brain. There's just not that much room to manage this stuff.
Yeah.
So until it becomes a habit, until you've ingrained that to the point where you're comfortable with your communication style, it's work. It's work. You got to work on it.
Yeah, I find people are very in that microwave minute mentality.
Yeah.
But think about it. I mean, right now we could order crab legs and steak from Dominic's and have it delivered before the end of this podcast.
I'm glad you brought that suggestion up,
and
'cause I'm
order
getting a little hungry.
And order some stuff off of Amazon, okay?
Yeah.
And whatever else we want, like literally right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, people are standing by the window going, they said they would be here between, quarter after and 1:30. Like, it's nuts.
That's a good example that you mentioned that, because when I talk about entering the unspoken conversation of the consumer's mind or the prospect's mind, there was a battle back in the day of pizza shops, like who had the best sauce and who had the best toppings and the thickest crust and all this drama and all these, and they're all battling for it. Then Domino's stepped up and says, you know what, the heck with all that. We're going to deliver it 30 minutes or less. Or it's free. And that pizza tasted like cardboard with some sauce on it, right?
Yes.
But it didn't matter because everybody was like, hey, we're going to have it in 30 minutes, and if we don't, it's free. Let's get Domino's. And they went off the map with that. So you got to zig when others zag. And I think that's a good example of what can I do different than my competition is doing? What can I do more effectively than my competition is doing? And it starts in communication. That whole ad campaign was nothing more than communication. And once the market accepted that communication and understood that and realized that, hey, this is about getting pizza quick, not how great it is.
Right.
Boom. Yeah.
No different than Amazon with
That's
all
it.
the stuff is that stuff quality?
Yeah.
But it shows up on your doorstep at 4 a.m.
That's right.
and you're ready to go.
And people say that. They're like, well, it's about quality. It's always about quality. And I'm like, listen, if it was about quality, some of these fast food businesses wouldn't be in business.
No.
It's not about quality at all. It's about speed, convenience. And once you recognize what it is the consumer wants, it's an easier sale. And you would think that, and everybody says that. I've worked with clients starting their business, and they make the best burger, they're the best hair salon, they're the best whatever, and they think because I'm good, they're going to show up at my door. And I'm telling them it's not the way it works.
No.
If you don't have branding behind it, a unique selling proposition behind it, and some stuff that your competition doesn't have, you're just going to be another brick in the wall, especially in a highly competitive environment. And that's why I give you credit, because you're out there, you're branded well, you're doing a lot of things the way they should be done, and it shows. Consumers pick up on that in a heartbeat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's hard.
It is.
It's
It
hard.
is.
I
It
mean,
is.
to me, social media and some of these things, I mean, let's face it, this phone used to be attached to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? With a cord on it.
Yeah, right.
Now it's everything we need.
There's a book called Crazy Busy, and it's about how we think we're more productive because we have our phone in our pocket, and we have a camera in our pocket, a video recorder in our pocket, and whatever, internet in our pocket.
Yep.
And it's actually caused us a little more stress and anxiety. The old days, you had to wait till you got to the office to make that call. It was a little more respected. Where now everybody's expecting. Well, I just called you. I texted you 5 minutes ago. What's going on? I haven't heard back from you.
How come the blue light? I don't see the blue. They haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah.
Like, relax.
I know, right? So that's a lot of a challenge in our world today, and I think you have to market around that, and it's tricky. It's tricky.
It's very tricky.
Yeah.
So what's the new year look like for Joe?
Corporate training. We're doing a lot of corporate training. Improv is always improv, and we always have classes, and we always have fun. But I'm really hunkering down on the corporate corporate stuff now and been busy with that. Got some other projects in the fire too, but that's the main one for next year.
That's the main one.
Yeah.
I think this next year is going to be it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be interesting. We're already starting to see kind of that separation season of people and how they're handling things. And again, we are in a very intense world right now.
We are indeed. And the thing is, it's like they always say the only person who likes change is a baby with a wet diaper, which is true. But in general, these changes are going to open up the reality of all the challenges we've had, and whether it's political or whether it's environmental, whatever it may be. There's been a lot of things that the government has gotten away with that are being exposed. A lot of things businesses have gotten away with that's being exposed. And I think when you come out and see the bigger picture, when it's all said and done, you can look back and say, wow, that was a crazy time. But look where we are now.
Yeah.
And I
think cleanup.
That's what
cleanup.
That's what it is.
Go in the back storeroom. We're going to clean it out.
Right.
We're going to clean it out.
Yeah.
Well, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
I'm on you can go to theoutcasters.com. Okay. That's our website for improv.
Okay.
And I have, my books are all listed, The Unconscious Authority, Blank to Brilliant, and The Improv Edge. They're all available on Amazon or through each individual sites.
Good.
But I recommend all three because they all really tie together. One's about the brain and how that works, and how our past is affecting our current day stuff. Improv in general, on how improv can affect your life. And then Blank to Brilliant is improv in communications. And a lot of companies are using it now, like Procter & Gamble, Ritz-Carlton, Microsoft.
Love it.
Some of the airline companies, they're all realizing we want our corporate people into improv. Not we want a bunch of funny people,
right?
But we want them to understand the concept so that we can utilize it in our company. So a lot of Fortune 500 companies are embracing improv.
Awesome, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you came on.
I'm glad to be here. I always like to hang out with you.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to set up another training probably Q2 of next year.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking forward to it.
For sure.
Have a great time.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed today's podcast. And again, if you liked it, hit that like button and also subscribe. We're going to put Joe's details down in the bottom section there. I want to hear from you. Did you think Joe was funny? Just make a comment down below. I want to see if you think Joe was funny. Other than that, you guys, make it a great day.